Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. We want to give thanks to God for all the provisions that He's made for us this last week, and for God to keep us healthy, safe, secure, in shelter, the roof over our heads, and food to eat. We give thanks, Father. We give you thanks that you provided for all our needs. We give you thanks that you have healed those that were sick and those that are still suffering, that you are healing those people, that you're providing for those people, and that you provided for us to go out and to come back in, and you provided angels around about us to keep us safe and secure. As your word is everlasting, as you have said, that you will take us back to the land of our forefathers, to the land that you gave us, and we look forward to that. And we continue to uphold Torah. We continue to uphold the covenants, the promises. We thank you, Abba. May your name be lifted up and may your name be great. Baruch Hashem. Amen. Amen. So, last week, as you know, is the first week of the new year. Also, things that are going on in the world. There's a war in Israel. Israel's next door neighbors. Gaza, is one area, and then you got Yemen. Then you have other countries nearby, like Lebanon, getting involved or dragged into the war. Of course, Iran as well, at a distance. Syria, because Israel continues to hit Syria and Lebanon, so therefore they're going to be involved as well. So let's see where this goes. But I don't know if I told you last week. I may not have told you. I may have or may not. But I may have told you that in Genesis 49, that there was the least of the flock. And that least of the flock, it actually collaborates to Yemen, being the country that is involved. And as a result of Yemen getting involved and hitting ships, merchant ships going into Israel, and as you can see, that has caused a wider issues in Israel. Now, I don't want to be like Christians and always, speaking on behalf of Israel and trying to favor Israel and, even if they do wrong, to stick with their side. No, I'm sorry, I'm not like that. And this is not my calling to be like that. Where Israel has committed wrongs, Israel shall be punished. And that is right in front of your eyes right now. What we are seeing is exactly that. Corrupt leaders, corrupt policies, bad governance, all of that results in what's happening today or has been happening in the last 2 months. So that's basically the world stage. Russia and Ukraine still having the war, and Ukraine, really, in all honesty, Ukraine is not a country that can continue to fight Russia without the support of the so-called allies. And the allies are only supporting Ukraine for their own purposes. And we'll see where that goes, because America's already told them that they run out of money. I think the other countries, considering that there's election year in the US, is going to be election year in the UK as well. So there's also election year in several other countries. So that means election year, it's a very bad idea to continue a war, because that doesn't go down too well. I was reading about the London march that happened last week with several thousand. I think they said about 100,000 people turned up in London to support the ceasefire in the war between Gaza and Israel. Even there were some Jewish women there saying that what Israel was doing was wrong, that they should stop this war and they should negotiate this another way. etc. I mean, those of you who live in London, you probably know about that, what's happening over there, the news, and so on and so forth. But I think I don't want to just, parrot my opinion. I will just tell you what the Tanakh, the prophets have saying, and I gave you a verse last week, verse 22, is that 49, Jeremiah 49 verse 22 onwards. Those are kind of the beginning pains that we are beginning to see. Now, I wanted to just give you going into the New Testament, and I wanted to speak about a little bit about the book of Revelations, and I think it's chapter 18. So I'd have to go and find that chapter. Give me a second, and I can maybe locate that. Let's see. So we have because the arrangement of the book Bible is different. So chapter 18, I believe, is the one. And here we see that it says in verse 2, "And he shouted mightily with a powerful voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, it has become the habitation of demons, and the lair for every foul ruach, every foul spirit, unclean spirit, and a lair for every unclean bird, and a lair for every unclean and hated beast. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her whoring, and the kings of the earth have committed whoring with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from Shamayim saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues." Now, there's been text written. I've written books on this in the past, and I think that you can go read those books in a kind of more thorough reading. But I wanted to point out something different. I wanted to just turn this around a little bit and look at it in a different interpretive sense. And what if, this is a what if question, what if the great Babylon that is fallen was Jerusalem? What if it was Israel itself? How do you think that would go down? It's a question, that just appeared in my mind. What if Israel is the great Babylon? What if Jerusalem is that city that God speaks about? And the merchants that have, it says that the merchants that got rich, it says, it talks about spices, but it's not just merely spices, it's talking about other items as well. And, as I saw this past 2 weeks, ships being stopped that were carrying merchandise to Israel, and some of them being blown in the waters and others, stop coming, that's billions of dollars of trade. Think about it. In the Red Sea, billions. So what happens when a ship gets blown up or destroyed in the Red Sea? Of course, the smoke goes up. And who is distressed the most with that smoke? It's not the onlookers, it's the people who sent the merchandise. Those are the ones who are going to receive it. They might be upset because they didn't receive their merchandise. And the ones who were sending it, they are sending billions of dollars worth of goods. And if their ship got destroyed, how do you think they're going to feel? They're going to feel really upset, sad. They're going to, maybe even some of them will be crying because, if you have, I don't know what is the actual worth of the ship, including the ship, of course, billions of dollars, but with the goods, you and I both know they're well worth maybe over $1 billion. Goods on that ship. Could be electronics, could be food, could be other items. Basically, all the items that are listed in chapter 18, they are there. Merchandise of gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen, purple silk, scarlet, citrus wood, all manner of vessels of ivory. What the book of Revelation paints, it doesn't mean it has to be an exact, exact pearl or an exact fine linen or exact ivory. It's just painting a picture of expensive items. Listen, if you had iPhone 14s and iPhone 15s on a ship going into Israel, and they never got there, and they are sitting at the bottom of the ocean, I mean, those iPhones are worth a lot of money. An iPhone 14 or an iPhone 15, you're talking about $1,200 a piece. Think about that, and we're not talking about one iPhone. We're talking about maybe several thousand. And then you have other items, so everything expensive. So, it talks about cinnamon, odors, ointments, frankincense, wine, oil, flour, wheat. Of course, all these things go into Israel. Israel doesn't have sufficiency of sheep. Israel doesn't have sufficiency of things they use. Like, they don't have sufficiency of chicken. They don't have sufficiency of grains to support their needs. They may have to import grains from outside, even water. So there's a lot of things that Israel has to import from outside. And I think that we, in the past, have not really looked at that. But just even if we look at it allegorically, even if we don't look at it literally, even if we just look at it allegorically, I think some of these things really do apply to Israel. Because if you look about the fine, precious stones, as far as I know, nobody in Saudi Arabia deals in diamonds. Meaning they don't cut diamonds, they don't sell them. They might buy them, but they don't sell them. They don't cut them. The only people who cut diamonds, the only people who polish them, who sell them on, is Jewish people. Jewish people are the number one traders of diamonds. They produce them, they cut them, they polish them, and when I say produce them, they acquire them from the mines in South Africa or wherever they come from, and then they polish them and then they sell them on to other people. So this is a merchandise that only in the Jewish hands this is being done before it's sold on. And as I said to you, there are items in here, expensive items, that I know that Israel is also dealing in these items too. It's not just applying to Saudi Arabia, it's applying to Israel more so. But then again, if we look, and somebody might question and say, well, they might say, how, it says Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of whores and abominations of the earth. Listen, if I start painting a picture, and I don't want to publicly, if I start painting a picture of what the Jews are doing in Europe, in terms of what kind of, merchandise, what kind of things that they involve themselves into business-wise, it won't look so good. I mean, I don't want to make this a channel of hate against Israel, and I don't want to make this a channel of slander either. So you can go and check for yourself what kind of businesses that the Jews are involved in the nations. And you can then, from there, you can deduce what I'm saying to be true or false. There's a lot of businesses that they're involved in, that they control, that are definitely in the category of not right, let's put it in mild terms. So having said that, I mean, could this be? So, it talks about, and I'm just making a general, just a general. I'm not saying it has to be Israel or has to be Jerusalem. I'm just saying as a general rule, parts of this Revelation 18 can apply as much to Israel and to Jerusalem as well. Parts of it, if not whole, parts of it for sure. And need I say that those of you know Epstein, if I mention the name Epstein, then you just go and search Google Epstein, and then Google the people that were involved with that person, and you will know, you'll get to see a picture I'm I'm trying to give you over here. That's what's going on. I'm not saying here whether the book of Revelation is scripture and everything that it writes is true. It's, a lot of it is allegoric. And allegorically even, what it's saying, some of it matches up, others might not. Having said that, we can find similarities. We can find similarities, instances of this in the book of Jeremiah. We can find it in the book of Isaiah. We can find it in the Torah itself. Okay, so, that's all I'll say. I don't want to say any more than that. I think, you would have to agree with me that we need new leadership in Israel, new leaders who are righteous to lead the nation. Now, there is a view, by the way, and this is a view out there, that Israel has to be destroyed before the tribes can go back in. And I believe that Iranian Jews, Persian Jews, some of them hold to this view that Israel has to be disassembled. Now, when you say disassembled, what does disassemble mean? It doesn't mean just disassembly, disassembly of the Knesset. No, it means a bit more than that. What they mean by disassembled is that Israel has to be torn down of its present structure, meaning whatever, political structure, the present legislature structure has to be torn down for Israel to be built afresh with Torah principles. And by the way, Torah principles, other than the fact, the idea that Jews keep a Saturday Sabbath, if you want to call that Torah, then everything else they do is not Torah. Okay, so, we can't just take one element and call that Torah and the rest is okay, because the rest of it is not. So, that's the thing. So, that's just a little bit, to give you some information, something that you can yourselves glean, something you can research, something you can, a little bit be educated on. And so I think, similarly, that it will give you an idea of how to pray for Israel and how to pray for the Palestinian people of the peaceful solution between them, so that, things may continue. Because we are not yet in Torah governance in Israel. And in order for the king that is mentioned in the book of Ezekiel and the book of Isaiah, even Jeremiah, to come to establish a Torah government, that's yet future. So in the meantime, those of you who are in the nations, what is the message for you? And I'll stop here a little bit and I'll talk about the calendar of Enoch that I'm working on. And you're going to notice that I've removed all the Haftorah portions in there, because there was no Haftorah in Enoch's time and Abraham's time and Moses' time. What is a Haftorah? It's irrelevant. It's non-existence. There's no Haftorah. God only needed Torah to direct his people. He didn't need anything else. Yes, sure, he had prophets. He gave information to the prophets, which became part of the canon, but I'm sorry, we only need Torah. We don't need the rest. The rest is okay if you want to study it, spend time with it, and gather more information as to what's happening or what's going to happen in the future. Sure, but it's not part of the law. Let's put it this way: the law is only Torah, and all the instructions are in the Torah already. So this is why I decided that since we don't really study. I don't teach the Haftorah portions on the Sabbath. I don't have enough time to do so. So I removed all of those. I have corrected the calendar to, what days should be not counted and what days should be counted. And also one key factor that I noticed that we may have put it in 2019 maybe, back in 2018, 2017 period, when we were producing this calendar, and it kind of drifted away. We kind of drifted away putting in the dates as they came, but really there was one key factor that I didn't put in, which I've gone back to now, which is the beginning of the new year. the beginning of the biblical New Year in the month of Aviv or Nisan is, Nisan 1, and Nisan 1 has to begin on a particular day. That's a Sunday, by the way. That's something that I hadn't always scrutinized in the past, but I've decided to scrutinize this now, which means that there may be gap. Maybe we get a gap of 2 days, maybe we get a gap of 3 days, 4 days, whatever the gap is, we have to ignore that gap and we have to start our new year from a Sunday. So this coming year, March 21st, if you look at March 21st, if I go to the calendar of 2024, let me go back, 2024, March. Yeah, March 21, which is our start, is a Thursday. So our calendar cannot start. So our new year cannot start on a Thursday. Generally speaking, in the past, we may have done it in the Thursday, but I can't do that now. I have to apply the rules strictly, and I have to start the year 1 from what's called Palm Sunday, or 24th of March will be when the new year starts, day 1. Now, that also brings us some other issues. Not really, because our festivals can still be the same date. Our festival dates don't change. April 3 will still be Passover. That'll be the Wednesday, April 3 is a Wednesday this coming year, or this year in 2024. Whereas March 21, if we had done the calendar the old way, we would have just ignored the what I call the padding, and would have just made Takufa, or the day that is not counted on a Wednesday, which is the 20th of March, and we will start the new year on Thursday, 21st. And that cannot be done now, because that would be wrong. We can't do that. We have to adjust the year. Every year we have to adjust it. We have to pad those days. And so how many days are we going to pad? We're going to pad 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to pad 4 days. So it means, generally speaking, it may require more than that, but generally, when the year ends this year, so 20th, 21, 22, 23, those 4 days will be padded, and New Year will begin Sunday, 24. That's when the New Year will begin, and we have to watch for that next year. Similarly, next year, when we come to year 2025, and we look at March then, and March in 2025, the 21st date falls on a Friday. So that can definitely not be our new year. Our new year in March in March 2025, will be on the 23rd again, which is on a Sunday. So we have to pad those days. Every year, whether it's 1 day, whether it's 2 days, we have to pad them, and that's how the calendar will become accurate. So that's just some information for you to understand why we are starting the year every year on a Sunday, and not between, not like on a Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, etc. We have to wait till that time is up. And of course, the following year, the 21st the 21st will be like in 2026. If I forward on my calendar to 2026, 21st is on a Saturday, which means our New Year begins the very next day. So 21 will become a day not counted, Takufa, and 22 will be the 22 Sunday will be the New Year in 2026. And as you know that the Sabbath, the priestly Sabbath, it moves on 1 day. So like last year, it was like this year till March, it was Sunday. Then from March 23, it will be a Monday. And in 2026, I'll move 1 day forward, and that will be a Tuesday. So what I'm going to do with all the Parshas are going to be listed on a normal Saturday. All the Parshas. But the priestly Sabbath will be marked on the representative day. If it's a Monday, like this year, till March, it will be marked If it's a Tuesday from, March 23, it will be marked so on and so forth. So you get the drift. You get the drift. I have strictly stepped in this time. Normally I give my calendar to my student who does it for me, but this time I decided to do it myself. So I set the stage and I fix it and I get everything right. So that next time I give it to my student, then my student will know exactly, what changes are made and why he needs to just keep to those to make it easier for himself. Working on the calendar is very difficult. It's not easy. There's a lot of things that you have to look at, account for, and work out where they should be. So that's a major change in the Enoch calendar. And the Enoch calendar, those of you who want it, when it's ready, it's not yet ready. It will still take a few days. When it's ready, you can definitely ask for it. If I get the opportunity, I'll put it up on the website. Either way, you can ask for it and I will supply it for you. Okay? So that's where we are with the calendar. We are kind of much more fine-tuned. We are much more fine-tuned with the Torah, and we are much more fine-tuned with what's going on around us. So, I don't want to be carried away by other people's ideas. Like what other teachers are doing. I'm not interested in what they're doing because they're still stuck on the same bandwagon, and I don't want to be part of that. I want to be, strictly guidelines as a Kohen, strictly following the Torah and following the guidelines that arise from the Torah, so we can be strictly Torah. Our lifestyle should be strictly Torah. Okay, and sure, there may be traditions that you may add on, like for instance, if you wanted to do Hanukkah is nothing more than a tradition. There is no Torah commandment for Hanukkah. So if you don't do Hanukkah festival, who cares? It makes little difference. There's no difference to you or anybody if you don't do it. But at the same time, if you wanted to do Hanukkah, it's up to you. You decide on that. But it's not a commandment. It's not something I'm going to enforce. It's there, but it's something for you to think about. Similarly, Purim is also a tradition, a festival that was traditionally treated as such and only commemorated by Jews of Persia. Now, since my family came out of Persia, I had my family dominated in Persia before they moved to the east and then to the west. So I generally regard Purim as a festival for my family because my family was involved in that thing that went on with Haman and other people. So it's not because of Torah, but it's because of personal family reasons. That's the only reason why I keep an eye on Purim, but I'm not so fond of keeping festivals like Hanukkah, because Hanukkah is traditionally a celebratory, it's really for temple. It's when the temple was taken back from the Grecian people who had overtaken it. But where is the temple today? Where is it? Are you celebrating it for the temple? No, you're not, because we don't have a temple today. So until the temple is built, and it was really the menorah that was lit up, we don't even have the menorah. It's completely taken a different turn. It's become more like Christmas. So unless you want to celebrate Christmas, okay, go ahead. I'm not going to say nothing to you for that, but it's not Torah, put it this way. Just like Christmas is not Torah, neither is Hanukkah Torah. So just to give you the right flavor, that do what is Torah. And also I corrected the parshas. The parshas, we shouldn't be following the lunar festival parshas. Lunar parshas. Lunar parshas meaning that we don't start from our parsha 1 in October. Why? Because our year starts in March. So what connection do we have with October? None whatsoever. So that's another thing that I had to fix, that our Parsha 1 starts from the Nisan week 1. That's our Parsha 1. And that's what makes sense according to Torah. Not setting our Parsha at number 1 in October when our new year, is nowhere in October. So this is why that's another major change that will be in there. Is that our Pasha 1 will start in March, in the first week of New Year, where it should be. So thank goodness that I'm able to look at these things and make proper correction and to give you the right information so that you may benefit from it. You may benefit, your lives may benefit, your children's may benefit, and your children's life may benefit, because what you teach your children is going to benefit them immensely. Now, talking about the children and talking about travel, there are instances where you may travel to certain places. Maybe you go back to visit family, maybe other things, and you arrive in certain countries, and there are certain traditions there. So how do you handle that with Torah? And generally, a lot of problems happen, because like one of my students went to India recently, and he faced difficulties over there. Even though India is not a meat country, I mean, notice this, that India, they don't, it's not like, America or UK or France, where you can openly, buy pork and contaminate your utensils. When I say contaminate, I mean unclean according to Torah. So, whereas, he faced different problems over there. He faced problems like they were using, they were eating shellfish, prawns. And prawns, as you know, according to Torah, are not permitted. So he had a lot of problems because, in Indian hotels, restaurants, they were making prawns on the same pot, on the same tawa, like skillet. Same skillet they're making the prawn, and the same skillet they're making the vegetables, and the same skillet they're making the fish. So he was like, he made a few mistakes, and then he had to give the zadaqah for that. Is that he made the few mistakes of accidentally eating stuff that that the same skillet was being used. So the question then is asked is, what do you do? Of course, the answer is very simple, and you already know the answer, is that we don't use the same pots, because there's an issue. If you use the same pot to cook pork or shellfish, and you use the same pot to make vegetables or fish that is allowed, with fins and scales, or meat that is allowed, beef or lamb or chicken, would you, put the same beef, lamb, chicken in the same pot where you made the pork? And the answer is no, because that is contaminated. That, if some member of your family likes to eat pork, then they need to keep that utensil for pork only. You must not be cooking your food, your beef, your fish, your chicken in that utensil. And you might say, well, what if I just wash it with using Dawn or Fairy Liquid or something, and I just wash it, and can I use it? The answer is no. Even then you can't use it. Halachically, according to the Torah, that is no longer suitable to cook any other kind of meat. Now, in the old days, we used vessels or pots, utensils that were made of clay. So what used to happen, if it got unclean with a food that wasn't permitted, we broke it and discarded it. Okay, these days, even though I have a clay pot in my house, you probably have some in yours as well. In the Indian culture, in my culture, we definitely still use clay pots. I use it. You might use it too. It makes real good cooking. Now, the thing is this, that you might say, well, what do I do with what do I do if I have a aluminium, Americans call it aluminum. I call it aluminium, British accent. So, say, what do we do if we have aluminium, or we have steel? What do we do with the pot? And the answer is very simple. The walls of even aluminum or aluminium, steel or copper, what happens is the flavor of the meat goes into the wall of the metal. Why? Because when you make it when you raise your heat on your stove, on your cooker, you raise the heat, and that's now going at 400, 500 degrees Celsius, okay? When it's going at that kind of heat, or maybe, Fahrenheit, which however you measure it, If it's running at 300 to 400, maybe 400 plus heat, then some of the meat's flavor gets into the wall of the metal. Even so, even if it's aluminum, steel, if it's copper, etc. That is why it is not permitted to reuse that for, if some member of your family likes to make their pork, sure, let them make their pork in it, but then keep it for the pork. But don't you dare, if you're following Torah, cook your meat in it, because you will be committing a gross violation of Torah, by the way. So I just wanted to make sure that you understand that. I've been very lenient to teach people, and I think that you need to know this. If some of you are struggling with this, you need to know this, because the best thing to do in such a household where there are mixed people, where there are people who don't keep Torah and they want to eat stuff that is Torah-wise unclean, then you should separate the pots. At least, cook your meat, your dish in a pot that is, for you. Then you will have no issue whatsoever. So that's basically where we are with that. Okay? So wonderful. Baruch Hashem. Thank you for hearing me out on this. Any questions? If you have any concerns, issues, you are welcome to write to me at my address, shimon63@yahoo.com. I'm more than happy to help you. Now, I want to just point out one more thing for your health, which is a concern for me. A lot of us in the past have readily consumed vegetables thinking that they are best for our health. And you got the vegans and all sorts of nutcases out there doing that too. But listen, I want to challenge you today. Today I'm going to challenge you with something. Show me a single verse in the Torah, by the way. I don't see it in New Testament or in Tanakh, Jeremiah said this. No. I want to see it in the 5 books of Moses, where we are commanded to eat any kind of vegetable. Commanded. Okay? That's the word, key phrase. But you will find several key phrases where you're actually commanded to eat meat. Think about that for a second. There are commandments in there to eat meat. Show me a commandment that says, go and buy cauliflower and you must eat it. Or go buy leeks and you must eat it. Or go buy cucumbers and you must eat it. Show me a single command. And I will say, and I will humbly submit to you and say, yeah, you're right and I'm wrong. But I like to see that. Now, why am I mentioning this? Some of you are suffering from blood pressure. Some of you. And by the way, yes, I am a physician as well. So to the hell with, people watching me, listening to me at YouTube. Yes, I am a physician. I studied, acupuncture. I studied medicine. I studied to become a physician in the Chinese system. And I have a proper diploma in that. So yes, I am a physician. I'm not an MBBS. I don't want to be an MBBS. But I am a physician. Otherwise, I'm a doctor. So as a doctor, I'm telling you today, I'm recommending to you. Now, it's up to you what you do with this. It's up to you what you do with it. But I am recommending you as a rabbi, as a teacher of the Torah, and as a physician from the Eastern Chinese side, that try not to consume vegetables. Cut down on vegetables. Because vegetables are a poison. They will poison your system. Because all vegetables produce is carbohydrate in your system. Okay? When you narrow down, if you take cauliflower, or let me give you a bigger example. If you take carrots, and where's my phone? So I can, tell you about, let me ask Google. I'm going to ask Google, how many carbohydrates in a carrot? Let's see what Google says.
There are 10 grams of total carbohydrate in 100 grams of raw carrot.
Okay, so Google is telling us, you heard the lady, Google is telling us that there are 10 grams of carbohydrates in a carrot, single carrot, okay? So, what is 10 grams of carrot? What is 10 grams? Basically sugar. How many spoons? Maybe the next question I should ask is how many spoons is 10 grams? Teaspoons. Okay? And Google is telling me, okay, let me ask Google so you can hear it. How many teaspoons in 10 grams of carbohydrate? How many teaspoons in 10 grams of carbohydrate? Okay, so the Google's answer that she didn't speak it, but she said that 1 teaspoon equals to 10 grams. So, if you're eating 1 carrot, what is your body translating that into? It's translating into 1 teaspoon of sugar. Now, if you ate 4 carrots, let's say you had soup, carrot soup, 4 carrots, you made soup, raw carrots, you drank it. How many teaspoons of sugar? 4 teaspoons of sugar. Okay? Now, this is just one example. But if you analyze each vegetable will give you different quantity of spoons of sugar. By the way, in theory, all of this converts to sugar. So this is one of the questions I used to ask is why are the Indian people fat? Because a lot of Indian people that are fat, I see in movies, in the old days, when you see movies and they're seeing the Indian people fat, I used to think they don't eat meat. They're like vegetarians. Well, why are they fat? Because they shouldn't be, right? That my kind of when I was like 21 years of age, and I used to ask that question: why are the Indian people fat when they only eat lentils or vegetables? And the answer is simple: because vegetables, all vegetables translate into spoons of sugar. So you are giving your body, if you're giving your body 4 carrots, you might be, oh, hey, I'm feeling so great, I'm giving myself 4 carrots. But listen, you might be so happy you're getting vitamin A, but you should also be considering that you're also pumping about 3 to 4 spoons of sugar in your body as well. So let's not just say soda is bad, because soda has 10, 20 spoons of sugar in a glass or a can. Well, so is carrots. 4 carrots have about 5, 6 spoons of sugar in it. What about other examples? Well, you go search it for yourself. Go look at cauliflower, look at other items. So essentially, those of you who are suffering or now beginning to show symptoms of blood pressure, the idea or the seriousness of the disease is not because you had some big pharma medicine or maybe you had something wrong. No, the idea is that the advice you're listening to is totally wrong. It's baloney. You're listening to the advice of these pundits online or on TV saying that, hey, vegetarian, we vegetarian, eat your portions, eat your 5 portions of vegetarian. Bullshit. There is no such thing. It actually brings on disease. I'm sorry, bull sugar or bullshit is the same thing, right? It's going to bring on disease. But you want to kill yourself with vegetables, please don't do it. If you love your vegetables, cut down on vegetables. But increase on your meat. Because the meat is the only thing that we have been commanded to eat. And meat is the only thing that can give you the nourishment that your body needs. A lot of you become fat. Just my Indian example. Why you become fat? Because you're so lenient, leaning on, not lenient, but leaning on or lenient to vegetables. You're so leaning on vegetables. You're so leaning on them that you are going to become fat because your body is generating that into sugar. All of it. You're beginning to show, your love handles disappear. You start to develop a stomach. Then your hips and your legs and your arms are ballooning up fat. Then you're wondering, why am I getting blood pressure? Why is my heart pumping more? Because of what you're eating. If you want long life, I gave you many examples. I told you that God has designed your body for 1,000 years. But what are we doing? We are destroying our bodies on this planet. Eating, drinking, smoking, all of that. But a lot of the times the stuff we eat, fruits included, by the way, fruits included, none of the fruits are good for you. None of them, except I will vouch for 2 fruits, maybe 2 or 3. You can have banana, even though it has sugar in it, it's okay for you because it has potassium. You can have the likes of guava. Guava are good for you as long as they're not processed, because they'll help you control your insulin, your sugar. And then you can have watermelon if you live in a hot country. Watermelon will help cool you down. But watermelon, mangoes, apple, strawberries, and a lot of the other fruits, they are full of sugars. Fructose, my friends, fructose is a killer. Now, I like somebody to prove me wrong that fructose doesn't kill. Fructose kills you with a heart attack. Fructose kills you with blood pressure. Fructose kills you with all sorts of problems. So, cut down on the fructose. If you want long life, if you want longevity of life, health, if you want to live over 100 years strong, then start cutting down on the V word, vegetables. And like I was speaking to one of my students, and I said that it's okay to have fish and chips. England fish and chips is a delicacy almost, and people love it, and there's nothing wrong with it. I guess the only thing is that how it's made, but there's nothing wrong with you making fish and chips at home. But I suggested that when you make your fish and chips, that your potatoes, you wet them. After you cut your potatoes and make them ready into chips, you wet them for maybe half an hour so that there's less starch in there. It's less starchy, and it will not be bad for you. By the way, yeah, I'm telling you that potatoes will be good for you if you cook it the way I'm telling you. They'll be great for you. But if you go buy potatoes from McDonald's, and McDonald's won't like this, but when I say this, is that the McDonald's potato chips are not the same thing as the home chips. They're totally different. So there's a difference. Just know that. And you can research why I say that. Just go on Google and research why McDonald's chips are unhealthy versus home chips. Home chips are actually healthy versus McDonald's chips. Why? There's a big story. That's another big debate yet to happen. Why? But things like zucchini and other squash, and I don't know. There's so many vegetables out there. But the only vegetable, and listen to this, and this is a recommendation I made to some of my friends over here, relatives as well. They were having problems with cold. It's been very cold weather here. And I told them, I said, get an onion, get a normal onion, yellow or red, whichever you eat. And here is mostly red onions. And so I said, cut it, chop it, fry it. Fry the onion and eat it. It will be excellent for your health. For your, if you're getting runny nose, a chopped onion does a world of good for you. It can stop your runny nose. It can stop your cold in its tracks. So, chopped onion is really good. Fried, of course, fried chopped onion. So, yes, eat that, okay? But, like I said to you, try to cut down on the other vegetables in your diet. If you are beginning to show symptoms of blood pressure, you should not be touching vegetables with a barge pole, as I say in England. I won't touch it with a barge pole. Don't touch any fruit with a barge pole, because they are going to be detrimental to your health. They are destroying your health. Like I said, blood pressure, a banana might be useful because it has potassium, but hey, listen, banana may be useful, but banana has sugar in it still. One banana will probably give you 2 spoons of sugar. So what is better, a banana or a potato? A potato also has potassium, by the way. So think about it. Actually, potato is better. In a blood pressure person, a person who's struggling with blood pressure, potato is better than a banana. So think about that. Think about what I said. And I'm giving you hearty advice. I'm not against doctors. I'm not against big pharma. They can do their business. That's what they've been doing for donkey's years, and they're going to continue to do it. But I am giving you advice for you and my students for your longevity of life, so you can live long, healthy lives, because you deserve to. Because God designed you to live long, long, healthy lives, abundant lives. Okay? Wonderful. So we'll stop this topic here and we'll move on to the next topic. And the next topic was, and I think that maybe, I think that wouldn't it be more suitable that if I did this topic at next session, because it might be too long, for me to carry on. So I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to wish you a happy Shabbat, and I'm going to say that the next week, the following lecture that I do will be on your higher self, on how God designed us, and what God meant for us to do, and what not, so that we can work on that side of the fence more, so we can make our lives more abundant, more healthy, more abundant, more fruitful, more happiness in your lives. That is my aim. So thank you for listening to me this week. I was going to teach on the higher self, but I decided, because I've got into other topics of health and concerns that people are having right now, I decided that I should focus on this week. And next week we'll focus on the other one. So have a wonderful Sabbath, wonderful Saturday with your families, and the rest of the week. Shalom to you, and Shabbat Shalom, and Shalom Shalom.